us and the collaboration we're going to have going forward.
No better way to communicate to your audience.
How do we grow strategically now that we've gotten the right path forward? What's up, everybody? Todd Schroth here with Agents Who Win. Had a little time off with the show, but we're bringing it back. And we are bringing back with Travis Lewis talking about independent brokerages and what they're doing to be competitive in this market. Travis, man, thanks for being here today.
Welcome, Todd. Glad to be here.
Travis and I have a long history of knowing each other. It's prior to real estate, prior to brokerages, prior to really everything. It's been 25 years now.
Yeah, and I think we got our license about the same time. Back in late 90s, 2000.
We were running real estate investments together, and we said, hey, You know what? Let's just go sell some houses and have some fun doing that instead of fixing and flipping.
Yeah,
and
let's be on the agent side.
Yes, let's try the other side of this business. And here we are, both 22 years later, still selling and crushing.
Yep.
So my first question is so I was at RE/MAX at the time, and you were at HD Realty.
HD Realty in Longwood, yeah.
What made you decide to want to go become an independent broker?
I mean, the main thing is the money. I mean, I didn't really do it at the time to create a big company. I just wanted to keep my own commission, tell you the truth.
Okay.
And I mainly sold real estate in South Orlando because I worked at Disney and Universal, and Longwood is up north, and just for meetings and any little paperwork. Back then we didn't have the internet like we do now to pick up in a contract, a commission check, anything. I had to drive from the Disney area up to Longwood, and I want to do my own thing and make my own money and make my own decisions.
So let's go back, 15 years ago. Where were you getting your clients from then?
Back then I did a lot more snail mail.
Okay.
Mailers. I'd pick apartment complexes. Are you sick of renting? I'd send out, a lot of mail like that. And I'm a strong believer in having another job besides real estate, especially at the beginning, because that's where you meet everybody.
Right.
And I sold a lot of stuff to coworkers and people that I met at Disney and Universal Studios.
That's that answer I was looking for.
Yeah. So I would say that's a majority, more than even the flyers and mailings.
It's funny. The flyers are working better today than they were then.
Yeah, they are.
Say snail mail is dead, and we've been a big believer in it forever, and I still do snail mail. We still do just sold cards, just listed cards. I'll get calls off listings for listing appointments, and it's not in an area that we would normally market. And I'll ask where they got our information from, and then they'll pull this card out, and I'm like, we sold that house 3 years ago, and they just kept.
I remember you talking about that. That's crazy.
We get this all the time. We get these cards all the time. Yours look the fanciest. I was like, okay, but you decided to keep it in your drawer for 3 years and knew you were going to pull it out when you're ready to sell your house that you've lived in for 30 years or 20 years. So,
yep.
I mean, there's some where we've only done one mailing and that's it. In that, because it was just sold over there. So I was like, okay, hey, it works. So
it doesn't hurt, and it still really doesn't cost that much to get a list of your farming community and send out those postcards.
There's so many companies too that you can work with now, like Corfact and Gecko Realty, and you're just doing.
They give you the list. They give you the list. They send us a picture of yourself or a home, and they'll put it together and mail them out. So it's pretty easy. So I recommend that to my agents.
Yeah, and that's the best thing they could do. Even finding the apartment complexes. We drove through one complex where we wrote down each building, each suite number, and we went back and created our mailing labels. I'm like,
actually, I did that as well, and I partnered up with a mortgage company, and they were on one side, and I was on the other side of the postcard, and so we split the cost, and that actually generated quite a few contacts for us.
So that's a as you want to dive into mailings, they're not cheap to do. It's just like online marketing. It's a way to co-brand and to co-expense. And if obviously the goal is, if I get a call off of it for a buyer, then I'm going to refer over to you, Travis, the lender, and then we work it together. If you get a call for someone who wants to refinance, cool, you got something out of it. If I got a seller out of it, then I got something out of it. A buyer, we both get to share on it.
That is where I made a majority of my money at the beginning. Is there's one particular mortgage broker that I used, and he'd pre-approve people, and they're like, now what do I do?
Right.
You got to call Travis. Give him a call. Here's his number. He'll help you find the house, and I'll get you the loan. So that worked really well back then.
Yeah.
And so if you can find the right mortgage broker, it works well now too.
Well, that's like even today. Yeah, exactly. Today, still you want to get that same thing. So let's fast forward to today or these last couple of years. As you've been growing the brokerage, now that you've actually got it's a business and it's doing its thing. What's the makeup of your company now? And your Gecko Realty?
Gecko, yeah, we're not insurance, so it's Gecko like the lizard. So
sorry, I had to.
I know you had to throw that in there. He's been teasing me about that for 20 years. So it's still fairly small. We have 10 agents, but that goes up to 20, and sometimes it goes down to 5 because agents, depending on the economy and their job and living situation, they come and go. So, but then you got a big handful of rock solid, realtors that have been here for years.
I think that's the typical where you say you go from 5 to 10 to 20 back down to 10. And it's even like our team's the same thing. We'll have you've got the 80-20 rule in any business. And that's what they said at the board. Yep. I was at a board meeting this morning. You got your 20% that are crushing it, the other 80% who are trying to figure out how to become that 20%. And it's
not as easy as everybody assumes when they get their license. You actually have to work.
Well, it's funny because I get the numbers every month when we go to the meetings about the association and stuff. And in December, there was 22,000 agents. And in January in Orlando, and in January there was 16 or 15,000, 5,000 people didn't renew. Of that 5,000, 1,500 got the money back together to reapply, but they're still getting 500 new applications a month coming into the association. Those are new people, not ones that are reapplying.
And I really do think it's because I think a lot of people do see people like yourself, like me, that maybe don't even realize we've been doing this for 20 plus years, and they see me posting, I sold a home, I'm working with buyers, sellers, and they think that just by getting that license, it's automatically going to be given to them. And me and you we worked at this, hit the pavement and did the calls and the flyers and all that before the internet. Before the internet got popular and easier.
Yeah, use. I don't want to say we weren't here before the internet.
No, we're not that old, but
I was in this business. I was around this business before the internet when we had MLS books and my parents being in the business. And it was funny because the old adage to get a listing agreement signed was, hey, let's get you signed today. That way I can get you in the book that's coming out in 2 weeks. If we don't if we sign the listing in 3 more days, then it's going to be another 30 days before I can get you in the next book. And, it's like, hey, let me get you signed today so I can get photos tomorrow and get you on the open house this weekend and get you blasted across the internet within 12 hours.
And choose one of the offers.
Yeah, and choose one of the 22 offers you're going to have on Monday,
right.
That are coming through. It becomes comical. So, some things I want to ask, like you're averaging right now around 10 agents at the company, right?
Yeah.
So what is your people that are looking to join you, what's your ideal agent avatar?
With agent or whatever occupation you're in, just a go-getter, a hard worker, somebody that they can work with computers and they know the social media. They know how to work the social media, because I'm not as good at that as the younger agents that are coming in. So they can teach me a few things about getting into the Facebook and Instagrams and Twitter, especially TikTok, things like that.
So you want what they call now the influencers, the people who have 10,000 Instagram followers who think they're celebrities because they are somehow considered an influencer because they spent all their time on their phone liking and following people.
Yeah, but it does work. It puts us out there.
Yeah, no, it does. I laugh at that but it's so true. Like,
it is, but we got to do it. I mean,
yeah.
and it doesn't cost us anything besides our time.
Yeah. Well, there's a class being taught today by two agents, and I was kind of laughing at it. They're like teaching you how to get listings, and I'm looking at their background, and I always like to see who's teaching these classes, who's doing things. And one of the agents only sold 3 homes in 12 months, and the other one sold 11 in the last 12 months. And I'm like, but they're teaching you how to sell homes. Like, wouldn't you go to somebody who's listing 30 homes a year, 40 homes a year to teach the class or to learn from? But they're both influencers in the social realm.
Right.
So people think
like the lead generators.
The thing is, the perception is never the reality.
Right.
And, but they have so much social media out there that people think they're doing a lot more business, basically. Exactly. I guess is what I'm getting at. So, but that's bringing them more business. So it's bringing them a following, I guess.
Yeah. And new to me in the last couple of years is the funnels.
Yes.
And you got to find those companies that know how to do those funnels and put them on the social media, and then finding all these people that are not your friends outside your friends network. I'm learning more about doing that.
Well, we just started doing reels, and again, I think they're stupid as can be, but I get sucked into the wormhole with them. And, we have fun doing them at the office, but I'm like, why does somebody want to watch me throw a notepad at the desk and laugh? This offer, ha, ha, ha. But you know what that's getting?
You know what? I watched you do that. I laughed.
I got me tuned in. But what's sad is we got 5 or 10 or 20,000 people that didn't follow us now starting to see us. And so it's bringing that outside market you're talking about.
Yep. So if I can get more agents that know how to do that, and I think the agents that are more tech savvy, they get more listings and more buyers and sellers because they're tech savvy.
They're going to be.
They may not be smarter, or they may not be, better at socializing at an event, but they're tech savvy and they're getting the listings and the buyers.
Well, because everyone's going online now and saying like, best Orlando realtor or hashtag Orlando real estate. And, it's again, search engine optimization or hashtag optimization. I'm probably saying all the wrong words because I don't follow the stuff. If you don't know it, hire people who know how to do it or surround yourself with the right ones.
And that's what I am suggesting to the new realtors that come out. The older realtors like myself, Jeff Petch, probably you, we don't have to do that as much because, most of my sales are from people that I sold to 5, 10, 15 years ago that are, downgrading, upgrading, new job situation, new location. So I just get those calls. If you did a good job 10 years ago, why won't they call you now? So.
Right. The biggest thing for us now is staying in front of them more often. So it is video. It's, how do we retarget to them?
But making sure those people do know you're still in the business.
Correct.
So you still got to make sure people know that you're still a real estate agent, a broker in the biz.
You're still out there. So so the new agents that are coming to you, what are you doing to help ensure their success? You're not, obviously they're not coming to you to learn how to do social media, but what are you doing around them to help ensure their success in the market, especially in today's market, which is virtually insane?
Well, I mean, I'm telling them to do the things that we just talked about, that they need to do that on their own, but I need to make sure that they're doing everything correctly. So that's where I come in, is, writing contracts. You can't just be on social media, but then what do you do when you want to put an offer in? You got to know how to do that and how to negotiate, especially with these times right now. There's different ways to negotiate a deal when you got to be against 20 other people. So I got to be right next to them on their first several deals. And
so that's like the mentor.
Even showing the house. Yeah. I'll go with the new guys showing their first homes, pointing out the things that you need to look at, and then writing the offers and helping with the negotiations.
So you're playing that mentor role, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And I think that's like some of the best training, because I'll put you in a boot camp, I'll put you through all the stuff, but if you're not out in the real world doing it and actually having somebody who knows what to look for, helping you, you're going to fail forward. And you want to, if you're going to fail forward, you want to fail correctly. And, knowing, because we're not inspectors, we're not builders, we're not anything, but we've been doing this long enough. We know what things are going to look at and what's the big ticket, what's the little ticket items. And, especially how to structure offers now, you got to get really creative.
Yeah. Yeah. No appraisal contingency. You got to, try to get cash offers somehow. Hopefully they got a line of credit somewhere. Use that instead of, mortgage company. You can switch it around later. Just acquire the home.
Yeah.
You got to acquire the home, then we can figure out some other avenues after that. Get
it lined. Because we just had our mortgage guys were in just recently talking about some cash buyer programs, and it's getting them to understand those programs and what the value of them are. We've got one of the ways we're going after listings right now is we're going to be going after the absentee owners who've owned their homes at more than 10 years. A lot of them don't want to cash out because of 1030 or not 1031 because of the capital gains. So we're working with a guy to show us how they can 1031 exchange that property into like a real estate investment trust or some other type of product. Still be in the real estate game, but not have to have the rental and the management of the headache and the roof and the toilet backs up and the AC breaks at midnight, whatever.
Yeah, it's not for everybody.
No, it's not. And some just are ready to get out, but because they've made so much money, it's like, how do we get out of this?
Without taking half your money to taxes.
Yep, exactly. So this guy's got a strategy, so we're kind of learning that. But it's knowing those ideas and teaching that stuff, I think is a big key.
And also, you've been doing this a long time, and we're still learning.
Yeah.
So you said you're going to learn about how we can do that, and we still have, both of us still have to do that weekly, monthly, yearly.
Exactly. There's always these new strategies that are out there, the new products that are out there, new avenues of trying to find business. It's like I've never thought I'd be back to writing contracts about all right, we're going to waive all these different contingencies, and what does it mean if the buyer does that? It's because
the consequences.
Correct.
There's no appraisal contingency, and it doesn't appraise. Then what do you do?
Exactly. Well, you either find some money or you're out that $20,000 deposit you said you're going to put up to help make your offer look stronger. That would have been refundable if you had that.
Yeah. And that is one thing I do encourage the new realtors as well, is to go get that information. Even if it's not for me, search for your classes at Orlando Regional Realtor Association. Search for those classes. Some of them are free. Some of them are $10. But I've been to your classes. You're a different brokerage. So that's pretty cool that you offer that. So learn wherever you can learn from is what I tell them.
Well, I don't want to keep learning from the same company. I want to learn from others because there's different avenues that are being taught out there. Not that we're not trying to learn about their brokerage. We're trying to learn the stuff that they're teaching, because I know a couple of brokers out there, they are so focused on education. And if I keep hearing the same stuff over and over from the same brokerage, I'm never going to learn something new. The same guy's teaching it. So I want to get out to where these other speakers are. And you know what? Worst case scenario, if I'm out in another market learning at another brokerage, I might connect some referral partners. Or somebody that's coming in this area to teach, and I got a new agent out in Oklahoma now, for example, that I can refer to if I got buyers or relocating, if anybody's relocating to Oklahoma, whatever. But that's the idea, because you at least get some other avenues of things that they're doing. So what do you, my next question is why would someone choose you, not you, but an independent brokerage, like a boutique style brokerage versus like a big brokerage, big box brokerage, if they're looking to get their career started?
I'm the broker. I can negotiate, say, commissions at any time. If somebody's been there long enough, been here long enough at Gecko, I can go, you know what, I'm going to bump this, or I'm going to do something for you where I have the opportunity to make my own decisions instead of, say, one of the larger firms. This is what it is. You guys get 70-30 split, and that's just how it is.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people like the flexibility with myself. It's especially the people that aren't full-time realtors. They don't have to come. I don't have a set meeting. People meet with me whenever they have time, because most of them have kids, other jobs, things to do. And they like the flexibility of call me and, come to my office, or I'll come to you. We can work on contracts new laws, whatever they want to work on that day.
Right.
And there's most of the bigger brokerages that, especially the new realtors, every Monday at 8:00, we need you to be here in the conference room. A lot of people don't like that.
Yeah.
So they like a little bit more of a flexibility with myself.
No, and I can appreciate that because it is very corporate sometimes feeling that way I mean, our meetings are Tuesdays at 10 and I want you guys there for that. The ones that aren't there, when we're running 15 to 20 agents and we're trying to keep it as a system. And, but when you can be more flexible with the people who we've got a couple agents who are part-time, who have kids and who have stuff. And it's a struggle sometimes for them to get here.
Right.
They're busy selling real estate, but they're also busy running around the children and doing stuff. And,
Yep.
I think that's one thing COVID taught us was like how we can be more virtual with some, if we can stream the meeting Zoom so they can be in the car listening to it or something, trying to pivot that way. But I totally get your point of like, hey, these guys are just getting started in the career and they can't be dedicated to a 9 to 5 or like 9 o'clock on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday,
Right.
Meeting.
It's hard to get into real estate if you have nothing else going on.
Yeah.
Like no other income coming in.
Yes. Yeah. And I liked your original story though, of where, hey, when you got into real estate, you were still working the bartending and you were selling people to your customers, selling houses to your customers plus your coworkers, and they trusted you. They referred you their parents, and then a series of other things that were going on.
And at one point, I was making plenty of money in real estate, but I was scared not to go back into those Universal and Disney because that's where I met people, and that's where I talked about real estate. Is actually behind the bar, bartending. It's like what most of my clients, and if I wasn't there, out of sight, out of mind, people don't know, and that was before we started doing all the Facebook and TikTok and all that, and that was my way of talking to people, shaking hands. That's the best way for me to sell real estate.
There's the old saying, "What got you here won't get you there." But you're almost saying is like what got me here will continue to get me there, because if I can still stay in front of people bartending and doing all that stuff, then I'm going to create. It's like open houses. If I keep creating getting new names and numbers, I'm going to create new clients. And I can't get away from what's been working the original.
Right. And people get a feel for you. People want to trust you.
Yeah.
From a postcard, you don't know trust with that brokerage. But if I'm shaking your hand, answering questions, smiling in front of you, it makes people feel comfortable and trustworthy.
No, exactly. So what, where do you see like Gecko going in the next 1 to 5 years with the business?
Well, continuing, I really didn't set up Gecko to be EXP or Remax. That's not really my goal. So, I mean, basically it is to continue with what I'm doing, maybe get more agents, but I'm not looking to be a nationwide company. I want to be prominent in Central Florida, maybe all of Florida, because I do have MLS down from Miami, through Jacksonville to Tampa. So I have access to all that. So I'd like to be a household name in Central Florida and Florida.
Nice.
And keep adding agents and get through this time of how the market is right now being all crazy.
So now you mentioned you have MLS in all those areas. Do you have agents in those areas as well?
I have referral agents. I don't really have Gecko agents. I mean, say New Smyrna Beach, the agents from Orlando will. I mean, we can drive over there. I have one agent that drives from Orlando that has ties in West Palm, so she goes down there every other weekend to show homes, and we're a part of the MLS down there. Jeff that I mentioned earlier, I think he had 10 closings in Daytona last year, so he's kind of our Daytona guy. But everybody still lives in Central Florida, even though we reach out.
And the markets are an hour away. I mean, I say like it can take me an hour to get to Oviedo, which is 20 miles away, versus Port Orange, which is 50 miles away, or Daytona is 50 miles away. It takes me the same hour. It's not that much further, and there's obviously better inventory because I'd rather go beachside. if I'm going to go show houses, I could put my feet in the sand then.
Yep. Half the day on the beach, half the day showing.
Exactly. So what do you, let's talk lead generation for your team and then we'll wrap up, or for your brokerage. What are you doing? What lead gen is working best, or what are you providing to the agents coming in? Are you like providing them opportunities, or are you showing them how to go get the business?
I'm showing them how to go get those lead generators and let them choose which one works for them. So we'll give them examples, say street text.
Yeah.
That's a good example. But it depends on the cost. Some of them have a couple $1,000s to spend more on the better ones, and some of them need to start with $100 a month.
Right.
So I can't tell any of them to use any particular company, but to research them, and then I'll sit down with them and go through, what I think would work and would not work.
I mean, they're all in business for themselves, so they're all trying to figure out what's working best for them. So you're showing them, if I were you and I was going to do this is some opportunities you can have. You can try all 5 of them, but here's where I'd start. Get it into a CRM, not a spreadsheet, and then figure out how you're going to nurture the clients after that, basically. Yeah. Okay.
But I do tell them to get the Gecko logo.
Yes.
That's a huge thing. Like I have a tent and some banners to go to sporting events or, social events, kids soccer games. You bring the tent out. I wear a regular casual t-shirt with Gecko on it, just Gecko shorts, cup, whatever you can do for people to have a conversation piece to go, oh, what is the Gecko thing? What is that? Oh, well, let me tell you.
Yep. Well, and that's like, branding though. And, it doesn't have to be a big brand name for people to ask the questions. They don't need to be Remax, EXP, Keller Williams, or Cole Banker.
It's like, what is that? What's going on with that? As a matter of fact, and then there comes a spiel. Yep.
Well, and we wear a lot of branded t-shirts and golf shirts, and the same thing with the tents and stuff. I would laugh when I was coaching my kids in baseball. I would say I was paid $40,000 to $50,000 a year to be a volunteer coach because I was carrying a cooler bag down the stairs into the dugout, and the guy looked at my bag and it said Todd Schroth real estate team on it. And he goes, "Are you a realtor?" Like, obviously. I just didn't brand a bag for a reason. And he goes, "Oh, we're getting ready to sell our house." I'm like, "Great, let's have a conversation." The bag was this conversation starter.
I can tell you last weekend, Garth Brooks.
Yeah.
We got a parking spot right in front of the Citrus Bowl now, but right in front of the entrance. You know what I put there? Gecko Realty tent.
And hand the beer out.
Yeah, and said hi to everybody, and a lot of people I did know, but I got a lot of compliments after the fact going, "I didn't say hi to you, but I saw the Gecko tent."
Yeah.
So it's huge. And then Orlando City Soccer, I did hand out, beverages, beer and water and stuff. And thousands upon thousands of people are walking by that tent.
And that's the brand impression.
Yeah.
That you've got there.
So I think that works amazing.
Let's, as we're wrapping up, let's talk about the next 12 to 24 months. Where do you see the market going, and what do you see Gecko Realty doing to be competitive?
This is a really hard question.
That's why I called it bonus question.
It depends on interest rates. I think that's probably the gas prices and interest rates. It all depends on that. But I don't think, because we were both in the crash of 2007, 2008. I don't think it's going to go that way. But at some point, it has to level off. I really don't think there's going to be a crash, but it's gonna level off because there's only so many people that can afford $1 million homes.
Well, so that $500,000 home has now become $1 million home, and that's where the challenge comes. And we just, the advice I'd almost put onto that is anybody you have as a buyer right now, get them not pre-qualified but re-qualified.
Yep.
And because we just had a buyer who was, unfortunately they're in the lower price point of $250, they're now buying at $200. And we just bought a house 4 months ago and in November, and the rate was 3.5. That rate now is 5.5 or 5.7 because it was a second home.
Wow.
So they're getting they're getting tighter on that. Ironically, our lender yesterday said the jumbo rates are the normal rate right now in a 30-year fix is like 5.25. The jumbo's at 4%. Your better rates on the jumbo, where it's usually on the opposite side.
Yeah. But as you know, it changes weekly,
Correct.
monthly, sometimes daily.
Well,
so it all depends on really that rate. But I don't think it's the rates jump too much. That means there's not going to be a crash. But I really do think things will eventually have to level off.
Yeah.
So
Well,
where the average person in that has a decent job in Orlando can actually buy a home, because as of right now, that's really tough for the average person that makes $80,000 a year to go in and buy a $300,000 or $400,000 home.
They've had to have owned a home with equity to be able to buy it, to be able to do that move up and have the capital to put down to do that.
Yep.
And
I want it to level off. I hope it levels off.
Yeah. I love the appreciation spikes, but it's also, it doesn't need to keep doing that, because, all we're doing is seeing paper equity. We're not seeing like cash equity, and, it doesn't matter. The rates are still low compared to like what you and I were buying back in 05, 6, 7, when they were, 6, 7, 8, 9%, and they're at 5 right now. I mean, heck, I remember buying one of my first homes at 12%. Prices were different then, but it's, if I was still buying that $300,000 house then, it'd still be 12%. Probably place is probably worth $1 million now if we had something like that. But the rates are always going to go up and down, and you can't judge your business on this, and don't get freaked out about it. Just know how to survive. Because if you're surviving through this, then you'll survive through the worst. Because we're seeing houses with 51 offers on them in 48 hours. I just think it's crazy.
But it's still better than renting. I mean, you obviously know that is rent. Everyone knows the rental market is it's absurd. I'm so glad that I'm not having to rent right now. It's just throwing away thousands.
Well, you think about some couples that recently were out there. This is a totally other conversation, but their rents were $1,000 a month, and all of a sudden the landlord's coming to them saying, "Hey, the market's changing. When your lease renewal comes up, we're going to go up to $1,400, $1,500 a month." And they don't care if the people move. They don't care. They've been there for 4 years. They're just gone, and because they're seeing a 50% increase in potential rent, so why not take advantage of that?
Yeah, before it'd be like, oh, I guess rent is going up $50, this year. And no, now rent's going up $500 or more. From 1 year to the next. And
that's a huge thing on a
budget. Where are people going?
Yeah. Well, they've got to go find that second job to go, work the weekend to pay the additional rent for that month. So, well, Travis, I appreciate you being here. And I got to say, dude, I love your office, the view, your desk, your conference room back there is amazing.
Actually, really over the years, I've written so many contracts sitting right here with just a little music on.
Relaxation.
Gecko Realty.
Yeah, exactly. I love your waiting room over by the palm trees. That's awesome. Well, Travis, appreciate you jumping on, just talking about what you're doing to stay competitive in today's market, and just some banter back and forth on what your agent's doing and what you guys have going on. Guys, if you want to talk to Travis about looking what the indie broker stuff looks like, even if you're in Orlando and want to go the indie route, Travis is a great friend, and I definitely recommend talking to him. Travis, any final words as we wrap up?
Not much. Just it's been a pleasure after all these years that our two paths are still, crossing all the time. We're always meeting at different whatever conferences. We just call each other when we need advice from each other.
Yep.
Appreciate it, Todd. It's been a good
ride.
We'd
like to be a collaborator versus a competitor.
Yeah, exactly. We're all in this together.
Yep, exactly. Well, cool, man. I appreciate you.
All right, Todd. Appreciate you.